It was because of an oil crisis. So I graduated from college as a petroleum engineer from West Virginia University. And in 1984, for those of you that remember, maybe not you, you're way too young, and there was an oil crisis. So there were no oil jobs in the United States. And of course, I had the option to go anywhere in the world because I spoke a few languages, and Brazil being something of my native language, Portuguese. But then, through family events, I decided not to go to Brazil. And my teammate and college mate, that we played for the West Virginia University soccer team, his father was a captain, one of the senior captains at Carnival Cruise Lines. He then convinced me, he goes, Cascais, why don't you go spend some time on the ships? He had done that. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I was graduating before my colleague was. And, I thought through it. I says, well, tell you what, I'll do that. I'll spend the summer on board, and then I'll decide where I'm going to go fulfill my engineering career. And that's how the whole started in July 13th of 1984 at 6:30 in the morning. I was there at Pierside in Miami with my suitcases as the Carnival came in. And she's a smaller vessel. She just spun right around and even had to go into the turning basin. And there it was, the biggest ship I've ever seen. And that was the start of my career that lasted a little bit longer than I expected. At the end of the day, it all becomes about the people that you associate with. One of the things about this industry, it's a people industry. Albeit, now we have ships that are costing $1 billion plus, and, they're 6,000 passenger ships. When I first started, the ship was 800 guests. 1,200 was a huge ship. Oh my God, we couldn't believe we had 1,200 guests. So, but then it's just the people, not only that you associate, work with, and from both sides, whether it's in corporate, your teams and all the teams that come together in order to put together the product, but also the people that you work with across from the destinations, and more importantly, the guest. Having had the experience on board of being really the responsible for the guest experience on board, as most of my years on board was as a hotel manager, it gave you the ability to see what you did, how impactful it was to someone, and sometimes a lifetime experience that they have, once in a lifetime experience that they were having, and something that you just did every day. And how that resonated with someone that today, when they give you a hug at the end of a cruise and say, this was the best experience of my life, those are the things that keep you in it for a long time. And then, of course, with this industry, it's vibrant, it's dynamic, it continues to change. And in my years at Carnival, there was such a growth that happened that you never, your day was never what you expected. As a matter of fact, it was interesting because you came into the office, I had sort of a, perception how my day was going to go, and only about 10% of that was realized. 80% of it was brand new to that day. So it was never a boring day, and still isn't today. Well, as I mentioned already, now I refer again, it's the people that you are associated with. But just the fact that this industry has so much more, to give back. It's still although it has matured to some point with all the ships that exist, all the time that exists, it's still such a small part of the overall vacation, worldwide. So there is tons of opportunity for a young professional to come into the industry. There is even opportunities for myself as a retire from the corporate side to still be involved and still feel that I can make a difference, albeit now more in the destination, side of it, but still making the connection and making the bridges of, particularly in making sure that the industry is aware of what the destination has to offer, and then also making the destination aware of what the industry needs, and connecting those two to continue to contribute to the experience that the guests will have, because the guests at the end of the day is who determine, the success of the industry. Is the guests having not only fulfill their expectations, but exceeding those expectations. And you'll hear that a lot from the cruise line, is we exceed the expectation of our guests. And that's just a good rule to live by. Well, this always gave me a door to see just, a much wider breadth of opportunity of experiences and people that are out there that were not in my normal day-to-day. So within these few days that you have, it really gave me the opportunity to not only meet people that at times I didn't have a face to put with a name, or with a voice that I've over the phone, but it also gave me a much wider breadth of understanding of what people are doing in other parts of the world because, as you know, traveling is one of the things that I feel is the best university you can have. And this brings it all together to you. So you don't have to travel to these destinations, which you might have the opportunity, but you have to at least the ability to converse and have meaningful discussions with somebody that comes from somewhere in another part of the world that can significantly impact how you do business. And, you know, and just to see that the ability that these people want to be involved and want to help you succeed, and the same thing, your success depends on their engagement to the business. And I think this brings a lot of, you know, people from many walks of life and many businesses, because this is not just one business that makes it. You can see that there's an array of businesses that support the industry in order to make, because there's so many pieces to it. And this is where you have as many of those pieces coming together as possible in these functions. So we're very useful for me. Overwhelming at times, you know, you kind of have to go back and kind of like take a breather and kind of then see, okay, let me go back and kind of debrief what I just went through, and then pick the pieces that are relevant to your business at the time. But you also make relationships that, while you might not have to execute immediately, they're there, and eventually one day or another, whether you're still working for this company or another, you execute that, you know, that first contact that you made, and you know, and that's how things get together. So very, very useful to me. They always went, and I still remember the very first time that I went one. So my funny story is rather personal. It's about my name. So when I first got on board, and as I mentioned in that July of 1984, you know, the first thing they asked me, what's your name? And I told them, Mico Cascais. And everybody, you know, said, what? And eventually said, you have to have another name. So I relentlessly gave him my name of endearment, which was what my family referred to me as Mico. And that stuck, and that was it. And I was Mico for all those years to follow. And then in 1990, as we brought out the fantasy, I decided that I was going to use my real name, or my given name, Mico and Cascais, in my name tag. So as I am there in the lobby, I know we just arrived in Miami from bringing the largest ship in the world at that time, the Fantasy from Helsinki. The ship supervisor comes over to me all nervous about my name tag, and he goes, your name tag, me? I goes, yeah, it's my name. You like it? And because I actually had a brand new shiny tag with the, you know, made out of copper. Oh, it was cool. I was going to be different because my name was now different. And he goes to me, well, you know, Mickey wants to know, and this is Mickey Harrison, wants to know why you're wearing somebody else's name tag. And I'm like, there's not somebody else, it's my name tag. And so he goes, yeah, says, just tell him it's my name tag. And so, you know, he relentlessly went and told Mickey that, and then Mickey told him, well, nobody knows him in the industry by that name. And I really had no answer to that. So, you know, I went and got my old name tag and put it back on, and that's been my name in the industry ever since. And actually, I think he did me a service, because it's much easier for people to remember. And I can go by one name. I don't even have to use Cascais and all that. So thank you, Mickey, for making me put my name tag back on. If you want to be in a dynamic industry that is growing at an incredible accelerated pace, that no day will ever be the same. There's always something different, there's always something new, and you know that has happened, particularly if you go into the operation side or shipboard, but actually almost in any sector of the industry. It is so dynamic that, trust me, you will have excitement every day. So you're never going to get bored at your job. And there's also an opportunity for a lot of movement, a lot of lateral movement within the industry itself, so you can become incredibly diversified in your skill set, which then you can parlay into any business. One thing that I've seen is that the cruise industry gives you the ability to build skill set, especially with people. And when you become, you know, especially skilled in dealing with thousands of people from all walks of life, you then can go anywhere and take that and parlay that into your next, you know, your next career and so forth. So I found the cruise industry to be really, for the young professional, one of the best first professions they go into, because then it just opens up an array of opportunities for them, because you're so diversified. When you come out, it's like you took a bunch of courses and you graduated, you know, with a degree in each one of them.